Alright, so there was a video Sincere and Prince did about the evil white male patriarchy and how bad it is and why it won't work for black folks and the black community. I think Prince answered his own question in the video. He said, why would people want to invoke a system that was used, you know, largely in our detriment, as a solution to our problems? Well, obviously, the simple solution, answer to that is because it worked, right? Like, that's why. Whatever we were doing, whatever we were on before, hasn't worked. And we have seen when we've had somewhat of that type of structure, there was progress in
Yeah.
the community. Now, I don't even understand why they needed to make the video in the sense that, you know, I don't see this coalition of black men on YouTube beating their chest talking about we need black patriarchy, we need women to submit and bow down and make us sandwiches. Like, that's not even the case. Most men of our culture, period, the average person you see isn't operating on that. Like, they're more, we're all, brainwashed or promoted to this idea of egalitarianism, or everybody does the 50-50 thing and all that stuff. So that's what most people are on, period, regardless. Especially if you're not wealthy or rich, like, just the average American is on that for the most part. So I don't even see where all these black men on YouTube making these videos about. Like, there's a select few, there's a small segment, but between the blog talk posts that I listen to, um, conversations between the posts I'm on Facebook and different groups, apart from groups that are specifically, about black patriarchy, there's not a lot of dialogue on this. Most men expect, to do things together, work together, and all that. So I don't even understand that. But I will say, which was missing from the video, and I know their video wasn't about what women are doing, but it was about black men in particular. But you can't have that full conversation without acknowledging their part or their contribution to this. Um, there's more complaints on YouTube and blogs and the internet, even from black feminists, about what black men aren't doing and what they're not providing. So there's more of an argument for some type of a black patriarchal structure from black women based on their complaints, based on what they're not getting, right? So even though a lot of these sisters only want male responsibility, void of male leadership, they want men to go out there and build and do these things. As I'll talk about when I talk about a Zaza situation, she said in her one video, Professor Griff did give her a platform and he did give her a voice and let her do all this stuff, which is Dr. Boyce Watkins doing right now. But she doesn't believe, she said specifically, she does not subscribe to black man patriarchy. So she wants men to build her things, to do things for her, but she doesn't want them to be in control of it. She thinks that they're supposed to just give her some co-ownership of what they built and maintain. So, and that's from, I'm not going to say she's a feminist because she says she's not. She sounds a little confused, but I'm going to save that for the video when I do address their beef and that whole situation over there. And that's not the first, so that does exist though. Even Cynthia G said in her video, black men are supposed to do this and do that, and when they're with non-black women, they're, escaping their responsibilities, but then turns around and says that if a black man wants a wife that's more submissive and nurturing and docile, whatever, somehow he's weak because he wants something to complement his masculine energy. That's the type of nonsense a lot of sisters are on. But I just don't understand, like, there are some black women who are traditional. They saw their father lead and do those things, and that worked for their family. And that's what I stem from, is do whatever works for you and your family first, regardless of whatever's happening or going on outside. That's the most important thing. But if you're talking about building a structure and an economy and schools and banks and all these things and all that, like, you gotta have some order. You gotta have a system. People have to get in line. People have to get in check, which we don't want to do. So that's a different conversation, though. As like what you do on an individual level by yourself is one thing, but if you're talking about a bigger, community, a structure, like, that's different rules. Like, and what we're on is not working. What we're doing is not working. What we're doing is, what the complaints of black women and what they want black men to do. They're not going to do it under this either matriarchal setup we got here or an egalitarian setup. That's just not how it works. Men operate on incentive, and there's no incentive to do all the things that sisters are complaining about if they're just gonna say, like, um, our value, obviously, like, if you look at the dominant culture, women, look what happened with Jennifer Lawrence, right? Feminists were mad or whatever that she got choked out in the art cover That's how protected women are, that they felt the need to apologize that a fake superhero who gets beat up by the villain, like the men do all the time, but because it was a woman in a blue suit, they felt the need to apologize. That type of a protection, black women don't get, and they want that. And I'm saying you're not going to get it from this egalitarian era. The moment a man views you as his equal, he feels no need to protect or provide for you. That's just the facts of life. That's just how it works. A lot of dudes. That's why I'm saying I don't even understand the point of their video. They do, either they do it out of spite, which I can say I've been one of those, who just be like, well, you want to beat your chest and you want to do all this, do it. This is me. Now I understand, like, if you're trying to fix the problem that doesn't work, but there needs to be some type of cooperation here. You're not gonna just, do whatever you want to do, and then come back when the stuff is failing, talking about, you need to do this and you need to do that, and that's what a lot of sisters do too. One thing that was funny is, like, they didn't mention any of the benefits or perceived benefits of being in the patriarchy. They talked about how doom and gloom, how wrong it is, how it don't work. Which, if you look at our condition financially, economically, we're not even producing enough kids to, our numbers to grow. We've been the same percentage in this country for a long ass time. Other groups are coming in with similar patriarchal structures, and they're popping babies out left and right. But I don't know. That's just, you can't talk about this situation from a one side where you say black men needs to get off of it, but ignore the fact that a lot of black women. No, I get it. Most of them have an issue with submission, have an issue with traditionalism, whatever, for whatever reason. That's not the point of this video. But there are a lot of black women who that's all they do know. There are a lot of black women who, if you talk about, 50-50 and treating her as an equal, like in every aspect, not just in decision making, but in dating and, responsibilities in the home, like that's true equality. And you don't want, Sincere may want that, but most women don't want that. What I find funny is that even white feminists are writing these articles like, damn, we went too far with this shit. Like, they're upset that, white males don't want to take them out to dates and don't want to do certain things anymore. So they're like, yo, we don't like these men that we've created. Go look at my video, the type of men that feminists create. They don't like those type of men. They're even like in liberal New York, right? I was watching a clip of, I think, the Young Turks, where the one white dude says, I'm a feminist and blah, blah, blah. And I even feel some type of way with still being expected to do a lot of these traditional things when, I think those things are social constructs. Meanwhile, the girl I'm dating might be my boss, my superior. She makes more money than me. So why am I paying? Or why am I doing this? Why not? So I'm saying, even they're having issues with this supposed egalitarian idea. Hypergamy is real. It ain't going nowhere. And that's something I don't think that was addressed in their video, biology. The fact that men operate off incentives, the fact that women want to be protected and provided for, and for that to happen, it comes at a price, at a cost. And some sisters reject that cost. Some sisters say, well, that's a lot of work over there. The same way that doing the work is a lot of work for black men. That's why they want to run away from it. Or they rather deal with a situation where it's like, the 50-50 thing. I don't know how many Facebook conversations I've been in where older black men just fall for bait and they get in these conversations and they're cool with their wife being ahead of it and all that. And I'm not even saying that from a situation where I'm where I need to be or anything like that. But I still understand that if you're talking about building a structure, and the fact that a lot of these sisters will take it and throw it back in your face. And this is the one thing that's interesting too, right? How evil white patriarchy is, that, for instance, Sarah was saying in her video. Every time I see, there's this whole segment of YouTube where women are talking about swirling and hopping events and getting with other races of men. And those things aren't really based off love or emotions and feelings and that stuff. It's based off tangibles like resources and, being validated in certain areas. So I find it funny how when black women who hop or are over there, they tell us that, well, over here these men are better. Over here these men are doing this, they're doing that. They never talk about how equal he treats me, right? They talk about being protected. You look at the video, Sarge always alludes to it where Krista Carrizon is at the park. She's twirling around and she's doing silhouettes and like, yay, this utopia that I'm in that other white patriarchal men built for their families. She's a guest in that environment, but she ain't got to worry about a kid getting shot. She ain't got to worry about the school system not teaching the kids. Like those are things that are taken care of because that comes out of a structure where the men are ahead of the women, and there's an arrangement, an agreement. It's not really that deep other than that. But that's what you never hear black women talk about, how equal they treat me or how, whatever. Like they get that treatment from us already, right? That's what the problem is, right? We're treating them as equals. We treat them as, based on the complaints from some black women. One of my friends on Facebook, he worked for the government. I think he was an FBI agent or whatever. He's a private investigator now, but he posted something about, and this is the point that Sincere made about, which I didn't think it didn't make sense because she's like, if I need a scientist, I'm not going to call a construction worker. Well, I'll use that same narrative, but make more sense. The wife was a cop, but she was trained in I forgot the squads that come in and they breach stuff and all that. She was one of those, and the husband's just a CPA, and all the women. And the question was like, well, since she's certified, she's qualified, she knows how to operate the weapon, she knows how to move weapons inside of the house in the dark. Like she has the skill. She does it. That's her job. Every day she goes to work, she breaches some, kicking down some door, knocking it down. He's a CPA. He's an accountant. And he ain't got nothing about that. He don't even shoot guns. And the question was, who should go downstairs in case of a breach or something like that? Every woman said, regardless of her qualifications, regardless of what she was skilled at, they said that he should go. So, and that's how most women will operate. I don't think the blackest of black feminists would say, oh, I should go because I'm more qualified, right? So that was just something Sarah used where she used an analogy that to me, it was overreach. Like, of course, you're not going to call a construction worker to be a scientist, but in that individual situation, that's what a patriarchy is. Even though your wife might be more qualified to you in a situation, because you are the man, the head and leader of the household, because women and children are protected and provided for, and they are, they're safe. That's what men do. And I'm saying that level of responsibility, that level of, this is what you expect from me. Something has to come in return for that to get there. Like, it doesn't just come out of nowhere. Dudes are not going to just do that just to do it. They're not going to take that L without some type of reward for that. Now, we're not talking, every type of situation there's extremes. But again, I don't see this coalition on the internet or of black YouTube or wherever, where there's a whole bunch of black men talking about getting with women that need to be submissive and all this other stuff and need to submit and do all that. Like, that just is not there. I don't see it. I haven't dwelled in the conscious YouTube, that much, but I don't even know if that's even what they're on. Because a lot of the memes and stuff I see on Facebook is more of this, she needs to build up the queen and all this other nonsense that where it's like, that doesn't help. And even though I'm saying matriarchy, because I'm saying even the egalitarian situation ends up turning into, matriarchy. Because the men, the type of men that are cool with that, sometimes it's just a reality. They don't have that cutthroat factor to them, right? They don't have that when it comes to economics or business and, starting up a structure. That's just how it is. Something Sincere said in one of her videos where sometimes I think, I'm sure she's an intelligent young lady, but she doesn't know what went on back in the day. Like, she says it as if she was there. Like, she talked about, I think, Bell Hooks and her husband and how he didn't feel any type of way because she was a powerful woman and this and that. Like, we don't know what went on in their marriage and what was said about them. We don't know the dynamics of what went on back then. We don't know anything. We don't even know how black folks perceive them in their environment at that time. So you can't just say because, like, you'll pick because in one of their videos they talked about, I simply said that it's not that deep. Some men just don't subscribe to female leadership. So you trying to tell men that they need to get off some patriarchy stuff to be able to, support or go with this co-leadership thing. And I'm like, some men just ain't gonna do that. If you look at look at church, right? Very like every aspect of our society is very gynocentric, and men stop going. Men are in there in the numbers, not uh, aggressive or masculine the men who get dragged by the wives, and the moist dudes in the choir with the short sleeves, like they, with scarves on their neck, like they neck coat with their arms not. Those dudes, like all up in the choir, like those dudes are there, but you don't really see it. Like as Jamal Bryant, i.e., in his, these hoes ain't loyal video, that was one of the deepest things he said. It was like, you got mosques full of men because there's structure, because there's order. Churches is as much as, it's just over feminized. And I'm saying that's usually what happens when women are in leadership. Are there exceptions to the rule? Yes. And my point to say all that was like how she was saying that, I don't know if it was her or him who responded to me, Prince or Sincere, but if we can respect Harriet Tubman as an exception to the rule, or as just an awesome person, and still not subscribe to female leadership, right? Usually women like that come out of a situation where the men have failed. I mean, we can admit that the men had failed, and we needed somebody like her. And I'll just use the example of a white Republican or conservative men are very patriarchal, right? They're not really subscribing to female leadership unless they have to because their boss says so, like, because all this gender stuff is going on. But they love Margaret Thatcher, right? That's their female hero. That's their, I guess, version of Harriet Tubman, I guess. But she is an exception to the rule. They still don't subscribe to female leadership, but they still love her. The same way I don't subscribe to female leadership, but I still think that Harriet Tubman is awesome, right? She should be a damn superhero or a comic book person, right? So exceptions don't break the rule, right? Like, just because you have some powerful women in history that you can name, that doesn't change the fact that I don't subscribe to female leadership. I don't think that men and women are equal based on what women want from men and what they want men to sacrifice on their behalf. I can't view you as my equal. I don't care even if you are performing financially or smarter than me or anything like that. I still don't view you that way. And I'm saying, growing up in my generation, everybody's like 33 and under. We had the balance where we saw the situation where it was like 50-50 with the relationships we grew up with. Like, the Cosby Show was the quintessential black family show, but that was not a traditional family. I mean, in a sense, up until she went to college, right? It was, if you remember that rant she went on, where she was like, ain't nobody serving nobody and this and that, but their relationship wasn't like, those shows that white folks had back in the day where they had the at-home wife and the father went out and worked and provided. Most of our shows were either like the Good Times, where it was like the mom was working because the father couldn't because of institutional racism and the structures being disrespectful to black men. So the women were financially bringing in the money because the men had hard times. Or we had the Cosby Show, where it was like she was a lawyer, he's a doctor, and they shared responsibilities in the home. So I understand why the egalitarian thing is so popular, why it seems like it makes sense on paper, but it doesn't count for biology. It doesn't count for, the way men respond to women. It doesn't respond, or the things that women want from men. It doesn't address any of those things, in my opinion. It sounds good. In a perfect world, it would be perfect if we could just do that. But just based off the fact that if women aren't doing everything that men do, if they're not expected to have the same, if they don't, most women are not going to throw out all their JJ passes. They're not going to go throw out their lesser sentences for crimes, and they're not going to throw out the fact that they now under Obamacare their health insurance is a little bit cheaper at the cost of young men who are healthy going up. Like, things like that in a society in which we all live in, those things all affect us. And I'm saying most women, to really be viewed as an equal, they're not going to give up all those perks of being a woman, right? So, and black women are no different. As much as I know a lot of them have excuses for why they don't want to submit, they don't believe in that. But like I said, Zaza in her video says, yes, black men provide and do these things and protect the family and build structures so we can come in and do what? I'm like, it don't work like that, Zaza. Nobody's going to do that for you. You said straight up you don't subscribe to black male patriarchy in your video. She did this one video where she was like, the last one she did with Dr. Boyce Watkins, the earth and the moon and the stars are in alignment. It's the year of the Aquarius, and the male prostate is like the woman's womb. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? But she was saying all that just to say,
Still?
She basically just trying to say that we're equal and we're the same, and the many that operate in the feminine and all this other nonsense. And I'm like, what the hell is you talking about? It ain't that serious. But I don't know. To me, you can't talk about the patriarchy thing without addressing black women, because there are some sisters who do want those privileges and those things. They want to be promoted, and they want some of the things that other groups women have. You've done a video. They both done a video with Chrissy. She's definitely asking for those things from black men. She's definitely not talking. And it's the same. Like, you got women that listen to Jason Black. You got women who, though you're a dusty dude because you don't have these resources, you don't have that. You aren't going to tell those black women to not want the things that they want anymore, right? You're not going to tell them to get over their, wanting to be like Crystal Harrison and a safe environment where the men have laid foundations, and say, no, y'all got to get off that, because the trade-off is being equal with your man, where y'all can provide that and build it together, even though women don't build anything. Now my dog's gonna start barking. But yeah, that's. I think, Sincere had made a statement about the reason why Greeks' culture failed and all this stuff was because their patriarchy stuff, and I'm like, all those European countries are very liberal, progressive, and they're more egalitarian than America, the West is. So I don't even understand how she said that their economy's falling because of patriarchy. Their economy's falling because of their progressive taxes, high spending, and no revenue coming in. Like, that's why their cultures are falling. But you can't say that. I don't get the connection she made with that being why those countries are failing. When, back in the day they had a very, weird relationship with women and all that, but over the last few decades, I mean, you look at Sweden, it's supposed to be the most egalitarian place on the planet right now. Like, you don't have to go back to Africa, Zimbabwe, or the Zulu, whatever, to find out these female warriors. Right now, Sweden is that place where they have, parity and a lot of things, and, they have a messed up divorce rate. The men don't want to marry their own women. They're importing women from other countries. They have a problem with immigration, and Muslims are going crazy over there to the point where their women aren't even being protected. And again, there's problems with that, right? So, I don't know. I definitely don't think that women want to come out of it based on the evidence from even white feminists who said we've gone too far. We gotta fall back. Like, we never wanted to end this structure. We just wanted men to share with us what they built, and now even black women. Like, I remember Jamila Lemieux was on HuffPost, and she was talking about something with Kylie Jenner and the appropriation and all that nonsense, and black feminist. If she's black, I don't know, but she's adamant feminist. And something Sincere and Prince said in their video that I would say I might be different with, because you said that how often do black men actually run into black feminists, and I'll say in the dating world, like, yes, a lot of this conversation, a lot of this stuff that used to be on YouTube and the internet is coming into real life relationships now. And I can say I've met different types of feminists, and I've learned, like, I actually met like a pro-black one who separated herself from white feminists, and she was more conscious about the community, but she still was on this, well, why can't women do this and why can't women do that? I'm like, because you don't do it, you don't build. She's like, well, and it was funny. She's a lawyer, actually, and she was like, well, we just haven't had time enough. So her whole goal is to prove that she can do it. And I'm just like, whatever, go do your thing. But you can't. It's just too many variables in this conversation. I know. How do you just say, like, let's get the black men to get off that? Where I don't see a coalition of black men on it. Most black men aren't, and the dialogues I'm in, especially with women like 35 and up, who are successful and are educated, they definitely not trying to hear this egalitarian stuff. They definitely, especially the ones who are, their market value is still up in the dating world, their level of attractiveness and all that, that's what I'm talking about. They're not trying to hear none of this stuff. When men talk about going half on rent and going half on this, these women look at these men and say, like, I don't want a roommate. Like, that's what they're talking about. Men who talk about not paying for dates, stuff like that, which to each his own. on that situation. I understand the whole dilemma with that, but they looking at that as like, well, we're gonna go over here because black men ain't doing this. So for you to say black men and pay a system like that where the men are ahead of the women and the men value the women by providing things for them, but they just don't view them as an equal. Like you can't. One of my female friends, we were talking about it, and I was saying like she was talking about the trade-offs dealing with the on-point black men, or not necessarily that, but yeah, the on-point black men, and she was basically saying the trade-offs, and I was like, well, I was never saying that they were perfect, because some reason why, let's listen to Chrissy's video, and everybody think we're saying that these brothers are perfect. Like, no, that we all have issues and flaws, and there's trade-offs dealing with the on-point brother, the blue-collar brother, the on-point simp, all that. Like, there's differences in dealing with each personality, right? You decide which one works best for you, but one of the trade-offs was like, the arrogance or the ego. Well, one of the problems is that black women, I think, create that arrogance and ego when you tell them, I don't know how many times I'm in conversations with a sister, and she's just like, these men just don't exist. Like, they're not here, they're unicorns. I'm like, well, that's part of the reason why they have the arrogance that you claim you don't like. Because you make it seem like, they have the options to do whatever they want to do. But I'm saying, we and her were having a discussion, and she was just like, well, and she agreed. Sometimes that ego that sisters claim they don't like, and now they understand the trade-off of dealing with a brother like that, and they'll choose the opposite. Other races of women know how to deal with that ego. They know how to play to it. They know how to manipulate it. As Princess Sid did a video where they talked about how women know how to manipulate the situation and make a man think he's leading and all the other nonsense that they get into. But I don't know. I just don't. The video to me was just like, you got to add both angles. You're telling black men to get off of it, but you're not going to tell black women to get off the things they want. And you're not going to tell them children who see those structures in the positive side, not just negative, because the video's all negative. It's racist, it's the white man's tool, it's evil in their video. But I'm like, well, there are no benefits to it at all? Like, you see no benefits to this type of situation? Now, because of what we are on, maybe it won't work because not enough men want to do it, and a lot of women don't want the trade-off that come with it. But we're all making the complaints. We're all, upset about where we're at economically and whatnot. And women don't build. And I know Shaq said something about, when he became a cop, and he was like, when I had to go through the training like everybody else, because if I didn't do it, my coworkers weren't going to respect me, right? So that's like a reality. If you don't go through the grime and the dirt and everything that's not expected of men and aren't expected of women, they're not going to respect you if they're equals. It's just that simple. You could apply that to gender. You could apply that to race. If you don't go through and do everything that everybody else did to get on, they're not going to respect you. And that calls for a hostile environment. And you can't, in certain occupations or situations, you need to trust your coworkers. Your life depends on it. And if they don't trust you because they don't feel like you did what needs to be done to get here, that's worthless. That's pointless. Sincere talked about military and how, well, a woman might be better as a sniper because she's smaller and she does this because I'm like, again, if they're not doing every single thing that the men do to get on, it's just not going to work. And the exceptions, the one awesome chick that can do all of that, go look at Captain K. Paterno's video, Why Women Shouldn't Be in the Infantry, right? She was that exceptional female. She was the top of the top, the best of the best. And she said that even with all that, the damage done to her body, the stress, the losing weight, she was infertile for a while, like the money that it cost to treat her from all that stuff, trying to make her be, in infantry and be up there with the men and digging these, ditches in the middle of the desert in full gear, like, it's not worth it. There's no cost-benefit analysis to it. So, I know you're not talking about having a black military, which they did point out one of the flaws to Black Wall Street was they didn't have an enforcement arm, they didn't have a military. And I'm like, I know you're not expecting the women to be out there in the trenches too at that level because they're not going to do it. those situations are, when all else fails, and the occupying forces is at our door, and again the men aren't there or they're not doing what they're supposed to do. That's when that comes in. That's what egalitarian, or when the society is completely perfect, and we don't have these natural instincts anymore, and we've all been propagated different narratives, which is what we're being taught now. Education wise, you turn on TV, little kids nowadays, I don't even know how, like, little boys can grow up and just, they don't have the John Waynes and the the masculine men, the Jim Browns and things like that. They don't have any of that on TV. Everything's metrosexual, or it's just gynocentric. All the female superheroes. I just look at the power of that though. Like, Mystique got choked out on an art cover on the Billboard, and the creator of Fox had to apologize for that. And I'm saying that's like just stupid, and no matter how you look at it. But I'm saying that's how much women are protected in the patriarchy. The image of you being hurt is bad news and bad business, so we gotta apologize for that. And that's not in the black community at all. Most men, when you look on YouTube, Zaza has said something about, in regards to like videos of black men bashing black women, like, why do they have a voice? Why haven't they been checked? Oh, so you want men to go out there and do things for you on their behalf. But if they view you as your equal, why would they do that? Like, why? Chrissy says that black men need to check other black men who, incite colorism. Like how? What do you want him to do? Go tell him, don't you be liking them light-skinned girls? Like, how does that work? But I'm saying, like, she's one who claims that she's down for submission and leadership and all that stuff, as long as he's in the position. But I'm saying, how are you going to just, if you got a group of men who view women as their equal, and I don't think we really do, I think it's just being petty. But the younger generation, they definitely do, because that's all they know. And they're not going to do certain things. It's that simple. Things are not going to get done that needs to be done with the type of system that Prince and Sincere advocate for. That's just a fact. And I did another video. I don't know which one I'll upload first, but the video I talked about where the Six said she hit me with that she's traditional, and then like I played along. We talked for a minute. Then she ended up saying, well, she didn't say it, but I'm like, well, I made her concede to the point that, like, well, you can't be if you don't subscribe to male leadership. Like, someone has to make the final chief decisions in the household. And she's like, she couldn't fathom or comprehend that someone had to do that. And I knew, because she kept saying, well, because I gave her scenarios, she was like, well, I would do this and I would do that. I'm like, it ain't about what you would do if you're traditional. What does, your husband say? That's what matters, right? If you're traditional, as you say. And she couldn't fathom that. I'm like, yo, it's not about you all the time. She kept saying, well, I would think about what's best for my kids and this and that. And then I'm like, what if he disagrees? And she just, well, whoever has the best idea should do it. And I'm like, that's not how it works. What if he doesn't want to do it? And if he's in the position to do it, he can say something. But if you get with somebody who, you both build each other up together, you came to the door at the same time, and he's not ahead of you, you're not ahead of him, or even in that case, she'll probably be ahead of the dude anyways, but you'll have more bargaining skills, and you can set those decisions, right? So, but she couldn't fathom the idea of male leadership, right? She wanted the male responsibility, but she wanted to be able to dictate things too. She didn't want no dude that was beneath her financially and not, doing what he's supposed to do. And that's what most sisters are on. It's confusing. I don't know how many conversations I've been in where I've just heard these sisters, just like Kristen and Karen's line, talking about the benefits of hopping the fence. But then, at the same time, big up white feminists saying it was needed. I'm like, that really got me when was one chick kept talking about, her Indian fiance and how much better he was than black men because he came from a structure. I'm like, okay, he came from a patriarchy. But in the same sentence, she defended white feminism, saying that, they needed that. Like, huh? So a lot of sisters don't get it, and they are confused. But you will not get what they're asking for, and you will not get men to do it under an egalitarian setup. because it's not just one aspect to look at it as far as money. You gotta look at it for everything. When it comes to sacrificing your life, when it comes to building things and providing things and putting women first and all that stuff, and most women are not going to opt out of that system. They may battle with it. They may, you know, it's the funny thing. Even the black chicks who are, you know, anti-feminist, and it's amazing that they say this, and it's crazy that for the black men who do want to institute some type of patriarchy system, she said that, you know, black men are oppressing black women right now, which you did a video on. Princess Sincere did do a video on. But she was like, that's not our issue. But she's like, first let black men get in the position to oppress us, basically what she's saying. And then we can talk about that, right? Right now, it's not there. Right now, we need to focus on this and get fathers in the home and get men doing what they're supposed to do. And then after that, we can start negotiating. So basically, we already know that if there was some type of black structure and the men were in the head and the men had the ability to oppress women or pay them less money than their male counter, like all that stuff, if we were in that position, we know what's coming after that, right? So it does seem like a lot of sisters and younger people who buy into egalitarianism, they don't even want to go there. They want to skip all that and say, like, let's not even just go there. Let's just do this. And I'm saying to myself, I just don't see how that works. I'll probably discuss in another video the situation with Zaza, Dr. Boyce, Professor Griff, and how, you know, you're not going to get what y'all want with men viewing you as their equals.